right, guys, a good day to you all. Sam here with you on Friday, September 21st. Of course, if it's a Friday, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin, and we've had some volatility over the last couple of days, so perhaps there's some things we can glean from this. So I'm going to spare us the long-term count because we've been through that enough times here, and my partner, Kwan, did a very detailed analysis of where we may be long-term. I'm just going to work from this last pivot high up here, this dominant pivot here. In this count, I have it as a 3-4. So this pivot up here at 84.99, and just setting aside the Elliott Wave count here, let's just do the basics. Right? So what have the algos done? Right? So if we go here, right, and we've shown this before. So we're in between the 50 and the 618. So still have this target down here that's unrealized. I'd call it 52.50. So with that still unresolved down here, there's a few things that are interesting to note here. So let's just get a hot box around this. So we've got this target down here. So this would, if we're to complete this count as I have it, we'd be completing an ABC to finish this very large diagonal. It's possible. Well, a couple of things to note here. So there seems to be this pattern of double bottoms. Right? So we see here, we did it over here, right? Last time we were down here at this proposed pivot here, well, I have it as a wave 3. So we get a double bottom here. We get close to it here. You get more of it here, and then we have potentially a double bottom here on this last move down. Somewhat unusual, right? So I do see a lot of people very excited about crypto right now. If you just sort of take a twirl through the crypto Twitter, and I'm just reluctant to lean into that just yet. I don't see how we resolve this until we break some of these major swing highs, right? So first test, we need to break this. We really ultimately from swing high to swing low, we have to get on the other side of this 65. At that point, then we can get an algo behind us. Until then, we don't have a lot to work with, right? So we have an Elliott count that may be shaping up here, although there's certainly two different ways this could play. But as I always try and remind you, we want to try and get in alignment with what an algo has done here, at least on one of these larger time frames here. And there's no way to build a trade here with an algo behind us from any of these pivots because we're all past the 65 on all of them. So this is just going to continue to be a magnet that's going to want to pull us down here, right? Until we break one of these. So this would be the potential trend change here at 76.02. Can we get beyond that? All right. So this not to be a pessimist here. It's just technically. Right, we at least have to have one of these major pivots. So, and as I was just showing you this here, we've kind of run into this prior area here where we had all of this resistance that just came in. If I just pull this over here from this pivot up here, so we bounced, did it again. Now resistance became support for this last kick, and then interestingly, we've just bounced right into it again. So note that, right? It's always good to look left and see where prior resistance may kick back in, right? Obviously that was a problem for Bitcoin to get through it. And then when it got through it, right, it did it in a big way. So potentially now that sets up over here, maybe. So, but yet again, right, we've just this sequence of impulse, retrace. There's no signs of that changing with this volatility that we've seen here. Now we're going to go down to the smaller time frame, but just to keep it simple, right? Just the basic ops here is just swing high to swing low. What have we done? We've just done a 50. So we can't get overly optimistic about that. And so first sign that perhaps something more significant is underway is we break this 65. So can we get on the other side of, what do we got there? Call it 69.70. If we can get on the other side of that, then potentially now we might have something for bulls to bite into there, but still, right? So before we get too excited, so if this were to complete a motive wave here, we got to see what happens on the first retrace, right? And that's going to need to take out that high for us to lay into the idea that maybe we have a 1-2 going in, right? We're just again, as bullish as I am long term, it's not there technically yet. Right. So you're like, oh yeah. So here, like note this. So this is a site I've shown before. This coin checkup, I like it. So you come in, Start your day, you look and say, oh, okay, well, let's sort it by market cap. So let's look at the major coins. And we say green, green, green. Like, wow, these are really booming. Everything up. Very, very, even the ones that are down for the day, just the chart pattern looks like, hey, we've got a spark here. Maybe, maybe. So you come back to Bitcoin, right? The big dog, right? This is going to wag the tail. So what... I can't get bullish there. I can't find any reason to get overly excited until we break one of these 65. So let's go down to the smaller time frame. We'll do a quick review. I'll go to the 30-minute, just picking up from where I left off on Wednesday. I think it's the last time we did it. So let me get this moved up a little bit here. All right, so last week, we had come in, we were considering the idea that we had a 1-2 and then yet another 1-2. Right, on the assumption that we might have that we might have 1, 2, 3 would have been down here, but we got a diagonal, right? So we end up getting an ABC. So we get an A, a B, and it looks to me like we get another C down here. So let me push this back down here. Let's go smaller time frame. So this is what I see here. So from that, and you can see in here, right? So we go 1, 2, 3, we have the big 4 here, which overlaps the 1, meaning it can only be a diagonal if we're going to if it's going to stay as a motive wave. So it would appear that what we get here is an A. Let's change that color. Let's go back to so you can see it a little better. We can go. There we go. Okay, so it looks like we go A, B, and then the 1, 2, we had that right. 3. Now, as we overlap here, that eliminates the idea that we had 1, 2, 1, 2, right? 3, 4, right? We were hoping to hold the 1 if that was going to be impulsive, because if it was going to be 1, 2, pardon me, if it was going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, we needed an impulsive move. Well, we don't get it. So what do we end up with, right? So, and I had drawn this on Wednesday saying, well, if this is going to be our third wave here, we've got the potential here for this retrace, even if it goes into a diagonal. So we drew a hot box down here, and you can see what it was drawn off of. So we had this, right? So this is prior to that spike down. But then the other alternate we were looking for as we went into a diagonal, in a diagonal, we want to measure from the start of the one wave through in this case, the low of the third wave, looking for that relationship. And I think is that Wednesday? I think that's Wednesday is when we left that here. So we had super tight confluence down here, as you can see here. So we had this other target here. So here's the 50. So we had this 50 to this target, right? Now, so you can look at that and say, okay, well, you were wrong about 1, 2, 1, 2, right? It ends up being ABC. But boy, talk about targets. That's as good as it gets. So, so this is some sort of, whale fuckery. Somebody's doing something in there, right? That doesn't just happen randomly. So, but interestingly, right, we go from the 50 to target, and then look at that reaction. Right, now, what's behind that? I can't tell you, but I can certainly just sit here and look at that 50 going to target and say, well, is it an algo? Well, there's a reaction. We don't know. Who knows what was behind that? But I can just tell you that an algo sold it here. For swing high, swing low, there's the 50, there's the reaction. I can just guarantee you that that's software based. Now, as to what drove it up there, I'm not saying that an algo came in here and bought a shitload of it. I'm just saying that this is a reaction. So this is all we get to work with here. Do we have a technical reaction at a target? That's all we get, guys. Right? Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's behind that. Right? Just don't even try to tell me you figured it out. It's this whale did that stuff. You don't know. Right? We went to target, we hit it, we get a reaction. That's all we know. All right. So coming off of that, what do we get? Well, so we got a couple of problems here. So one of the scenarios that I laid out on Wednesday was that we might have just a big flat correction. So we might be doing something like that. Just forget to do that. So we might be doing something like this, which would help us understand the double bottom. All right, so if this is a 5 wave and we get an A, B, C into an A wave here, we get an A, a B, and I finish with my ending diagonal, perfectly technical, right into a target, into a double bottom. Well, I'm reluctant to call that a hard low, as in correction's over, right? The whole big, whether it's an A, B, C, D, E, whatever, that lows in, right? I'm just we're nowhere near ready for that. Okay, so how could we get there? Well, first thing we got to do is eliminate the possibility that all we're doing is just doing just a flat correction, right? So that would, so look at that target here. So if we're going to come up here, all right, so you know where I'm pulling from, just from our last pivot here, all I'm doing, swing high, swing low. Here's where we've gone so far, right to the 50, right? No surprise there. We're getting a little reaction. Doesn't mean we can't get through it, but we're getting a little reaction. But if we start to put this thing together and think, okay, well, do we have a potential trend change here? Well, so far, all I see is an ABC, right? A flat correction, right? It can't be, it's literally right out of an Elliott textbook. Flat correction. What are we looking for? We're looking for 5 in the C wave. You know, again, guys, I'm a bigger bull than as big a bull as anyone long term. Yet I can't look at that and go, oh, trend change, right? Lows in. Just can't get there. There's no way to get there technically. That would mean the whole with truncation down here off of this low. Yeah, you know, would it be the craziest thing I've ever seen? Nope, no, it would not. But I don't know how people are getting overly bullish about this. First thing, until we break that 65. See, if we break the 65, at least we get an algo on our side, right? So if it comes up here and we can get through that, well, then we got the 50. Then maybe we could work with that, right? So I'm assuming you guys kind of follow me on this. So if we go up here and we break that, well, then we've got this buy zone down here where we can get an algorithm on our side. And we can say, oh, but we're Elliott Wave traders, right? That's true. But we're trying to get the Elliott Wave in sync with what we know an algorithm is going, at least an algorithm will be written to buy that 50. We know that. We don't have to wonder about that. Dominant pivot to dominant pivot comes back to between the 50 and the 618 buy zone. That's a must take. Must take. Well, then you think, okay, well, wait a minute. If that's ABC and we come down to the 50 and we get a reaction, well, that doesn't guarantee that we're going to the third, that we're going into a third. Right? We can't just assume, oh, bullish, oh, one. So we can't assume 1, 2, right? Do we want that? If you're a bull, shit, yeah, we want that. But you got to be careful about this, right? So remember, once we have that, there's always an algo on the other side. Always, 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 right? We don't know who's behind it, right? But there will be that. For the possibility, if this is an ABC, that all we're doing is going, yeah, all we're doing is 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, taking us back down here. Can't eliminate that possibility here because right there, right? Because there will be a competing algo. How will we know? How do we confirm? Well, first we got to get this going here. We'd have to break this pivot, so we have an external retracement. Right? You follow that? So we'd have, so if this were going to be, so if we had done ABC and we're going to double bottom, which shit, right? It's possible, right? So if this is going to be our low for the entire correction, one, I'd be absolutely shocked by it. Right? It wouldn't be the first time the market shocked me. Do we even have the 887 in there? We may. God, you know, I just can't build a long-term bullish case off of a double bottom here that doesn't complete a sequence. I just don't see it. Sorry, guys. Believe me, I want to. Could I get there? Yeah, but this is, we're gonna have to see this. We're gonna have to see that. Right? There's just no other way. So this has to go 1, 2, and then this has to go 3. Right? So meaning it has to go. We have to break the big 65 up here. Right? If this is gonna go 1, 2, 3, then we have a major trend change. Then we can all get fired up about crypto back on. Really, you got to get the whole Monty here. You got to get that, and you got to get that. That's when we can get excited about it. And then knowing we had that, right? All we've done is a one wave, right? So with that in mind, all we're going to do is this, right? There's the next big buy, right? For the longer term, right? So if you're a swing trader, I'm on a 30-minute chart here. So if we get a motive wave coming out of this, then man, game on, right? But until then, boy, I just don't see it, guys. Much as I want to, right? Much as I like to see the crypto sphere getting excited about crypto again, I can't get there. I want to, just don't see it, right? So first thing, let's see what happens here, right? Do we get the 4-5? Do we come down here? Now we could have a diagonal, right? We had kind of an ugly 1-2 anyway, but do we get that? If we do that, if we get that, then we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But we can't eliminate the possibility that it's just the C wave, right? Which just they look alike, right? And to make it even more difficult, right? It could be an ending diagonal, just as it could be a leading diagonal, right? So there's just no way to confirm here other than, you know, we got to wait for it to complete and resolve, right? So there's no way to confirm until we see this reaction, right? Do we go 1, 2, or do we go 1, 2 up to the 3, right? Or is it 1, 2 and then down for the 3, 4, 5, right? That still seems more likely based on what we're seeing here technically, but you know, I'd be first in line for the buy orders should we get a motive wave here that retraces and then we get a push off of that. Until then, you got to just defer to, you know, what are the big swings? What can we be definitive about? This is hopium, right? That's hopeful, right? Say, oh, lows in, double bottoms in, off we go, trend change. Dangerous way to approach the market. Very dangerous, right? I would propose to you, that's just my view, take it for what that's worth. But I would suggest to you, you got to wait and see. So first thing we got to find out is are we going to go 4, 5? So let me zoom in on this because this is kind of an ugly 1, 2. We don't make a 50, right? So we have, here's the big spike of double bottom off of our algo target. There's the big spike. We go 1, right? We're in between the 38 and the 50. So again, we have a little bit of an ABC pattern to it. So we have a little shaping, although hard to dig a C wave out of that. So even that's a little, you know, you got to count it as something. So and how do you dig a 1 wave out of that, right? It's just straight lunar shot straight up. So can we get a count on it? Well, right now that looks the best thing we can do is we've got a 1, 2, 3. So we got to pay attention to that 1, and we got to pay attention. Let me get rid of this here. So if we're going to stay in a motive, if we're going to stay impulsive, we certainly want to see the 50 hold. Right? Can we get the 4 and the 5 up here to get us towards a target? Now, if we go into a diagonal, it's just going to look uglier because of the shallow too. So in a diagonal, we'd want to check here for the swing low through the proposed 3 high. We don't know for sure that 3 high is in, but then you'd be looking for it down here at the 50. But just that doesn't look as good as a leading diagonal given that shape. Now it's possible, but I can't say that I love it, right? So but here if we go swing low, swing high, wave 1 right at the 38, and we have this this little shelf here of prior resistance potentially offering us support that I think that fits better here off of the 2. Get that back down here. So if this is going to be 2 into 3, we'll note here this little pivot here potentially prior resistance offering some support. If we're going to come in for the 4 here at the 38 where we'd like to see it between the 23 and the 38 and we get this push up and we go algo target, we could go beyond that, but that's a reasonable target to have if we're going to come down. So we're looking for this to somehow give us a 3 wave and then get up here and complete that 5. Then what happens next, right? That's what so if this were to do this, and this wouldn't surprise me at all, right? We almost need it to do that. So we know we've got a potential C wave here. So again, it's either C wave or a C wave, or it's our 1 wave here, and if we end up with an impulse. So you just can't confirm until we see what happens next, right? So I would be cautiously looking at this with through bullish lenses. There's the history here doesn't support it. So, and then if we pull back out, there's just until we break some of these major pivots, how are you resolving this? All right. So how do you resolve this? What you going A, B, C, right? To resolve down here in a truncated C wave of a larger triangle. Yeah, I think you're hitting the opium a little too hard there. So I'd be careful in here, guys. We're down. There's no reason to be loading, looking for any of these swings here. Yeah, scalpers, have at it. But I would propose to you, if you're trying to get the larger swing, there is absolutely no way to get a high probability play out of this until we break some of these major pivots, right? Break that one, again, game on. Until then, approach with caution, guys. All right, that's all I got for now. I've got a couple more teed up here by request from the members, so we'll look at some of the major alts that seem to be moving as well. Can we draw any other conclusions from those as well? All right, guys, back to you.